Okay, now that everyone's here, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Um, Any member of the public who wishes to address the Advisory Board of Public Works is asked to submit any comments or concerns at least 2 hours prior to the start of meeting. Alternatively, members of the public are invited to participate via the Zoom virtual meeting. Here we are, using the instructions listed prior. So do we have a couple different speakers here in tonight? Do we want to go in a particular order? You're on mute.
And you're mute.
You're on mute.
I said a lot too. It was hard being.
Am I the only one? Oh, sorry.
Water disputes. We have a gentleman, a resident who wants to speak about irrigation.
Okay,
Those are the three that I know of.
okay.
So Dan, you're first on the list.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. I believe I spoke with Sherry, and Sherry sent out the invite, and she kind of, I forget who I spoke to originally, but I called up because I was asking the question about a second meter. And then they told me that the town of Wakefield doesn't currently offer a second meter. So then right after that conversation, they asked if I would like to attend and speak at this meeting. So I've done a little bit of research here, and most of my research.
Sorry to interrupt you. Before you get started, could you just introduce yourself?
Oh, hi.
That's my apologies. I should have stopped you.
No worries. I'm Dan Licata, relatively new to Wakefield. I've been here for about 4 years. I live on Longbow Road. And the reason that I'm speaking today is inquiring about the second meter for the residents.
Sure.
So
Back to it. Continue.
back to it. All right. Great. So currently, it seems like the town of Wakefield does not offer a second meter. So I looked into it a little bit, and I found an article back to July 6, 2016, when this seemed to be brought up at a similar council meeting or selectman meeting. And it seems that the issue at stake here is that more water is going through the sewer than is actually being used for usage. And it seems like part of the issue that was addressed here by the director of the DPW was that there could be cracks in the pipes for the sewer, and some, seepage through, let's say, rainfall or et cetera, that could be adding to the reason that we are, I think, 3 times more than double goes through the sewer than is actually coming through the water pipes. So based on my understanding, I called up a couple of the neighboring towns. So Stoneham, Melrose, Saugus, Woburn, Winchester, and they all offer residents second meters. I also have Canton here as well, just because I work with an individual from Canton, and I know that they have separate meters as well. I tried calling a few other towns, but a lot of people haven't gotten back to me yet. It seems the issue here is that we don't know how much is actually being going through the sewer for each resident, right? So the proxy that's being utilized is that they're utilizing people's usage of water as a proxy for their sewer amount, correct? And one of the things that the director of the DPW at the time, I believe his last name was Stinson, said was that the amount of money that we're going to pay as a town for the water is always going to remain the same, even if we don't, if we apply the separate meter, if we don't apply the separate meter. I think that's a difficult argument to kind of wrap my arms around, because it seems like if that's the case, people that choose to irrigate their lawns or water their gardens are basically subsidizing everyone else. Because what most likely will happen, and I haven't even put in an irrigation system yet, is if somebody looks at these prices, they might say, well, I'm not going to irrigate my lawn. And if that's the case, or I'm not going to participate in putting together a garden this year, I'm concerned that for the majority of the town, all we're going to have is just people's lawns that are always dying out in July and August for a lot of these neighborhoods that are in really nice neighborhoods. So it's a difficult thing to kind of understand. The other issue is in 2016, they said that a lot of this issue is because of cracks in the pipes. So somebody at the time, and I forget the name, but somebody who was speaking similar to me speaking right now, asked what's being done to address the cracks in the sewer mains. And they said that every time that they fix a street or that they're addressing any cracks in the pipes. I don't know if anyone here at this meeting can kind of give any updates on whether or not the pipes have been maintained or updated since 2016. Is that something that we would know here at this meeting?
Joe, did you want to answer that?
Yeah, sorry, you cut out a little bit, but I think I caught that. So as far as the sewer in the street, I could tell you that we have taken advantage of MWRA's grant funding and are in phase, I believe it's 12 out of 13. So we have used basically $1 million worth of funding per year to long line and structurally line the street. We have one more phase of that left to do. I believe that's what you're referring to as far as the cracks in the street.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not so much the cracks in the street. I think they're saying that that's how they figure out whether or not there's cracks in the pipes, is when they actually fix the streets, they would address the sewer mains.
Sure. Yep. So typically the sewer investigation falls in front of our paving plan. So if you notice, every once in a while, you might see a group of people with a box truck huddled around a manhole that looks like it's steaming. Two things happen there. So the line is cleaned, then the line is investigated with a camera, and then the line is structurally aligned, which is kind of like a cast in place slip lining from the inside, so it's less invasive. There's also some other areas too, based on the investigation, where we actually do some dig and fixes. A couple that just happened recently with the intersection of Armory Street and North Ave. And then there were 2 spots out on Water Street. So all of that work is basically, based off of that investigation to take care of that inflow into that sewer system and eliminate it.
Okay. So do they know, I mean, because the difficult part for me to understand is if a big reason that we're being charged so much as a town and that cost is being allocated out to the residents is that there's issues with the pipes. Is there a way to understand which pipes are leaking before ripping up the street? Are there any sensors on the sewer mains?
No. So, I mean, we would sensor it through some of our pumping stations, but most of the data that we would get would be from that investigation internally via camera.
Via camera when they send something through the main, is what you're saying?
Exactly. So what that does is it creates kind of a condition inventory and notices slip joints in pipes, cracking, different things like that. A lot of our sewers were laid pre-1970, probably even earlier than that. So they're old clay pipes. I think that's just one piece of the puzzle. Obviously, another contributing factor to that is anybody that, has an illegal sump pump connection in a house that we might not know of that's pumping the basements out in the rain into the sewer. I mean, all of that becomes metered flow. Something is as small as maybe taking a gallon of expired milk that you pour down the sewer. I mean, at that point, you're probably nickel and diming it, but it all adds up to more going down the drain than what is actually probably used at the meter.
Yeah, no, I was thinking the same thing. I just couldn't wrap my arms around more than double, right? Because to have it be more than double, is that similar to other towns? Is there ever an assessment done between what we utilize? What's the differential between our water consumption in sewer and maybe like neighboring towns to see if we're on par?
So the MWRA does the retail rate surveys and some other data explaining that every year. My only experience is here in Wakefield.
Yep.
If I could maybe tag Elena into that, because she represents Melrose, so she could speak to a little bit of what she sees from her side.
Sure, and actually I've done a lot of, it's called I&I work, so infiltration and inflow into the sewers in other communities as well. And unfortunately, if the reality is that half of our flow, is that what the statistic is, or?
So it would be a third of our, well, I wouldn't say a third of our cost, but basically this is as of 2016, but 1.85 million gallons was water consumption, 3.74 million gallons was sewer. So more than
Yeah.
double the flow.
Yeah, so half of our flow then is infiltration and inflow, and that's actually not, it's not the worst, certainly. Melrose is actually higher than that. We're around 60% infiltration and inflow.
It's actually more than half of the flow, right? Because we're saying double of the water consumption. So of the flow, water coming in is let's call it 1, and water going out is 3, right? So it's
I thought you said it was 1.8, or did I?
yeah, 1.85 and 3.74. So it's more than half
It's a
of
little
the
more
flow.
than half.
Yeah.
That is not atypical of Boston area sewers, unfortunately. And
Okay.
it's because they're old clay pipes. A lot of the pipes were installed in the early 1900s or even late 1800s. If they're submerged in groundwater, that water is just pouring in constantly. The joints on old clay pipes are every 3 feet, and they don't have gaskets in them like a new pipe would. So the water can get in there, cracks in pipes. And then, as Joe said, sump pumps, illegal connections from people's basement drainage. So it is not atypical, and it's a problem that communities chase and never catch up. So a really fantastic number would be about 25% I&I and 75% wastewater. That would be about the best you'd ever expect to see. And over 50% it's not great. It could be better for sure, but it's something that you spend millions of dollars on and you only see these tiny incremental improvements because it's so hard to find the worst areas, even with all sorts of flow metering and camera inspections and everything. It's a tough problem to chase.
No, well, thank you. Thank you for that. So I guess my main question here to the group is just, is there any consideration to revisit allowing residents to separately meter for irrigation?
Chris, I'll take that one. So just to give you kind of like a historical perspective on that, Dan, since 1992, this topic has been evaluated either by the Board of Public Works, the Board of Selectmen, the town administrator, believe it or not, 14 times. The last one being 2017, I believe. So this, at that point in time, the town council and the advisory board of public works voted to not bring that up again until 2022. So a revisit of this is on the horizon. I'll tell you, part of that is kind of understanding, from a cost perspective, right? In doing, a cost of service study. One of the things we'll have to figure out is, what is the cost of the capital costs that we're going to need? What is this potentially going to add for O&M? Are we going to be subject to any additional regulatory requirements? And then, from there, there'll be an impact, which will be laid out and then evaluated from there. So it is on the horizon as something that's coming up on the agenda to evaluate.
Do you know if that's something that is a vote by the residents, or is that really something that the selectmen will basically make a decision on?
So the advisory board would hear it first, kind of like this meeting, right? So we'd have open discussion on it, which would be posted, and anybody that chooses to attend can attend and be able to bring up, pros, cons, whatever they choose, just like yourself today. From that point in time, the advisory board will make an evaluation and presents a recommendation to the council. The council would hear basically the whole conversation all over again. A little bit more brief, obviously, because they're going to base what they're talking about on what the advisory board is telling them as a recommendation. And at that point in time, so the council serves as the water and sewer commissioners in town, so that would be subject to a vote of that board. So that would be a policy that they would put in place via a vote.
Perfect. Is there any way that I could just be included on communication, just so I know when that occurs and whether or not we can present again at that point. So you're saying that the next time this will be revisited will be 2022?
Right, which will probably be sometime after July, because the cost of service study and the analysis takes a little bit of time.
Mhm.
So it won't be tomorrow, but it's not going to be something that won't be evaluated for years and years and years to come. You know, we're essentially right there to take a look at it again.
Okay.
So, Dan, if you want to follow up with me directly via email,
Mhm.
I can just make sure you're in the loop. If not, you could pay attention to the news and announcements part of the town's website. You'll see the postings for the advisory board. The advisory board meets at minimum once a month, with the exception of the month of July, typically. We're usually in the middle of construction season, but you know, on their agendas, you would see that this is a topic of conversation to be coming up. Like I said, if you want to follow with me directly, or I know you're in communication with Ann, we could touch base and kind of, I'll keep you in the loop from there if you'd like.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. I mean, yeah, thank you guys for you know, I guess listening to. I don't want to call it a complaint, but it's more of you know, I'm trying to get a better understanding. Obviously, you know, it's also impacting my decision and a lot of decisions of my neighbors to actually to purchase irrigation, right, from in local businesses, right, because Designer is right here in Wakefield. So, you know, if it's going to cost 3 times the value of, you know, my neighbor who's 2 houses up, then we might, you know, choose not to do that. You know what I mean? So it's helpful to understand if it's in the pipeline to be reconsidered. And it'd be nice to know whether or not we're going to move one way or the other. I'm assuming that nobody has a crystal ball for that right now. So to the extent that, you know, I'll continue to monitor the Wakefield page and see where it goes.
Sure. And if you have any questions in the meantime, don't be afraid to reach out. I'll try to get you whatever information I can get you to, you know, help you on your research on your end.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hey, thanks,
Anytime.
Dan.
Yep,
Thank you.
thanks.
That's what these meetings are for, Dan, for those questions just like that. So we're glad you participated. We don't often get much public participation, so it's nice to hear from some of the residents once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think I asked the question, I believe, and perhaps it was Ann, I apologize, I forget who I was speaking with, but they said, do you want to jump on the call, which was like 2 days later? And I said, sure. So I wouldn't have known about it unless I believe Ann told me about it. So that's probably one of the reasons, and I'm sure most people don't frequent the page as often as they should.
No problem. Thanks. We
Thank
appreciate it. And since we have so many people waiting, I'd like to jump right to the disputes if we could.
Absolutely. So we have the owner of 331 Albion, Unit 1. I had sent the paperwork out to everyone. So a very large bill from the summer, and he's here now, so he'll tell us about it.
Hello, everyone, and thank you. And, thank you, the board members, for listening to my, issue. So I'm a resident. I own the 331 Albion Street unit. I've been a resident of Wakefield for 5 years. In the last 1.5 years, I moved to Westford. I still love Wakefield, a beautiful town. I still own the apartment. So I have currently rented it out. So I have a tenant there. It's only one person living in there. So in the last 4 to 5 years, the typical summer usage bill, and again, the meter that we get it's for personal use as well as the irrigation. In the summer peak months, typically that June to September, comes out to in the order of, say, close to $900 to $1,000, which includes the personal use and irrigation, right? And then we do a math where we say, okay, the irrigation was spent so much, and this is personal use, and the HOA reimburses so much money. But this time around, the bill for 2020, June 23rd to September 14th, it came out to be 4,700 something. So almost 5 times of what, I typically get as a summer usage months. So on the recommendation of the Wakefield town, I've been working with Anne and a few others. I did hire a plumber to come and check if there is any internal leaks. We've ruled that out. That doesn't exist. And I also got my irrigation person, the landscape person who takes care of the irrigation. We have 6 units. They came in, they took a thorough look. They in fact turned on the water meter and turned it back off. There's no leaks that they found, like visible leaks. And according to him, I know, and he's given the right, I've actually attached his email in my dispute itself, where he clearly states that for a leak of such a nature, like 4 to 5 times for you to get a water bill, we should have easily been able to see that. And again, which is not visible at all. And what we also did is in the last bill which has come, which is from say September 14th until December, since we turned off the irrigation on October 14th, around that time, I see that bill has come down to 2,500, which is again very large than the normal. So, but as I said, once we turned off the irrigation, looks like, so me and Ann talking, we have realized there's something either with the irrigation going on. But again, I've already ruled it out by talking to the irrigation team members. They have come in and checked a couple of times. So what I'm thinking is there's something to do with the meters itself. So my ask is dual fold. One, to see how we can, hopefully I can work with the town to reduce the bill, looking at the overall data from the past years, because we have confirmed that there's no consumption that has happened on those lines. And the second is to how to rectify it going forward, right? Because the second bill has also come in large. So we need to see if it is a faulty meter or something else that has to be rectified so that I don't keep getting these high bills.
Can I just ask you, when did you move out of the location and when did the tenants move in?
This was in 2019 of August is when I moved out. And it's been a whole year where they stayed and we got the regular bills, right? If you look at compare the bills, the same thing, amount was the same. For 2020 August, starting then is when something has changed where I'm getting that bill, which is almost 4 to 5 times.
So the tenants moved in August 2019?
Correct. And it's only one tenant. As I said before, it's one person.
And so, sir, you own one unit? Is that, or do you own all the units?
No, I own only one unit. There are 6 units in all. I own the 331 unit 1.
331 unit 1. Okay.
And they're all separately metered?
So basically, they all have the separate personal meters for water. And the way it works is for irrigation, out of the 6 units, 3 units have the irrigation meter. So for between me, the 331 unit 1 and unit 2, I have the irrigation meter. Where, then we, as I said, we do the math where we say that, okay, this is what the consumption of the irrigation is, and this is my personal consumption. And then we, the money gets reimbursed by HOA. And what we have also confirmed is all the other units, as in the other 2 units who carry the same irrigation meter, they have been seeing very similar bills. There's no change that they have seen in the last, in the last 2 cycles.
So there's 6 units total.
Yes.
3 of the units have irrigation running through their meter.
Correct.
And 3 don't. So you basically share a lawn area with one other unit? Is that
correct?
Okay.
And that lawn is not that big. Again, I mean, I'm sure Anne can maybe add a little bit more. There have been at least 2 team members who have gone and taken a look to see that high amount of usage. It's something going on in there. Again, from my due diligence, what I've done from getting the plumbers, getting the irrigation guy to check it, looks like, as I said, there's no leakage, evident leakage that has been found. So it's something probably with the meters is what I'm thinking it is.
So just to bring everybody up to speed, it's the old Oxbow Pet Store lot, and there are 3. So there's 331, 1 and 2, 333, 1 and 2, and 335 and 339, and they each have a sprinkler that does a portion of the lawn, their area. So we did go out there and confirm that. Rich and I, we looked. That's true. There's a meter on each one. It looks like it's a meter that has a sensor on it. So it picks up how much, if it's dry, it's going to water more. If it's not, I did talk to the designer sprinkler. He's actually the one who does the irrigation. He suggested that if there was a leak, he couldn't confirm or deny, but he said if there was, then he thought the landscaper would definitely notice that kind of leak. Driving his mower over, hit a wet spot, or that you would actually see that much water.
Is there any possibility that there's a problem with the sensor and that the irrigation system is just running like in the nighttime for hours and hours when no one's seeing it?
Yes, that's a possibility. And it was a very dry summer. So the sensor may have been telling it to water more.
But that if that is the case, all others would have seen the same high rise in numbers, only not one unit, right?
Correct.
So if that is indeed the case.
So the sensor, it's not a separate sensor on each of the 3 sections of the irrigation system, it's all one?
No, each has its own sensor. I put a picture of it in with the packet. It's there's 3 of those type of sensors on one on each building.
So then you wouldn't have seen it in all 3. If there was a problem with the sensor, it could be individual to your building.
But we should have visibly seen that kind of water being, the next day morning, right? Because I'm talking about 5 times the regular bill. And also when once the irrigation was completely shut off, we are still seeing a very high number, like I think, Anne, you can keep me honest here, what we saw is close to 2,500, like from the month of September to November.
October, yeah.
Yeah, which
So-
is also high.
Can we walk through the actual readout of the data for the water usage? Because I'm just, sir, I'm trying to reconcile 331 Albion. That to me, the data that I have here does not look excessive to me. But when I look at the usage for 335, Phillips Nassos, there, to me, that usage is very, very high. So that I'm just, and then again, when I look at 339, Christine O'Connell, very, very high usage. So my question is, how does your unit 331 intersect with these 2 other units? That's where I would like a little clarification if that's possible.
So when you say intersect, as in the numbers that you're seeing, the bill is for their personal use as well as the irrigation, right? Maybe you're seeing it in thousands, something in 1,000, very close to 1,000, somewhere there. So that's what we've typically been getting. So all we do, as I said, is there are 3 units which carry the irrigation meter. So we come back at the end of whenever we get the bill, we have a math. We take the reading on our personal meter and the reading on the irrigation meter from the start when we, started irrigation, when we, the date we got the bill, and we say that this is the delta, right? I mean, this is the delta between and if it's $100 charge, we say that, oh, okay, based on a delta, the 80% is what the irrigation consumed and 20% is what the personal usage consumed. And that 80% gets reimbursed by the HOA. So only to me, as I said before, this time around, I'm seeing that very high, steep increase in the bill.
I have a question for you. How many people can access the irrigation controller?
Nobody does it except our landscaper. They can access, sure, anybody can. But as far as I know, nobody touches because we have outsourced it. So nobody does personally goes and changes anything. We've already confirmed that too.
Because that would be a concern of mine. If other people can access it, is someone touching it that they shouldn't be, or?
And again, in that unit,
Possibility.
there is nobody that would just go and change. We've already checked with all that. It's mostly adults. In fact, all adults, no kids at all in those units.
So I'm looking at the data from the other units, and so they have a lot of the summer quarter bills, the bills that would come out in September, that are in the range of about 10,000, 9,500, 9,400, 8,800. So
Can you come again? Did you say that the units 335, 339 have bills of 9,500 for the summer?
not dollars, cubic feet
Oh, okay.
for the quarter. So while this is double the usage, I'm not so sure that, I think a leak you would see if you had 1,000 gallons per day, you would probably see that leak. But an irrigation system that's running double the amount that it normally does, I'm not sure that I agree that that's something that would be so blatantly obvious, because an irrigation system running at a normal volume, it's not like it's watering so much that the ground's becoming soggy. And I think even at double, you wouldn't necessarily be watering so much that the ground is becoming soggy. I have a suspicion that the irrigation system has been running far more than it should be. But that said, we have the ability to test the meter, correct?
Yes.
So as a starting point, can we test the meter? And then if it's not having a problem, then maybe you see how things are going into the, your next quarterly bill. If it is a problem with the irrigation system running too much, your next quarterly bill should be back down to normal. And then when you turn the system on again, you can evaluate whether you're seeing that trend again. And then I guess my other question would be, do we have the ability to provide more than a quarterly read for a short period of time, just so that it's not another 3 months after the irrigation system is turned on before you identify the problem?
Absolutely. Yes.
So I guess that would be my suggestion, would be that we test the meter, confirm whether it has an issue or not. If the meter has an issue, then it's a whole separate discussion about abatements and all. If the meter is determined to not have an issue, then the next step would be to maybe monitor your usage monthly once you turn your irrigation back on, or maybe even, for the next 6 months, you just monitor monthly to see if you see any different trends when the irrigation comes on compared to right now. And then that gives you a better idea of what might be happening.
Sure, Elena, but at the same time, as I said, right, with the irrigation guy, Fred, from, he's gone not once, but twice. He already turned the irrigation. He already turned it off in October. He turned everything back on. He turned on the sprinklers just to confirm that, is he seeing anything, if anything is very visible, and he's confirmed there's nothing that is visible.
I would suspect, though, that he's looking for leaks. And if it's an issue of the system running just fine, but running too much, he's not going to find an issue, by just turning on and testing the system. He's not really going to find an issue in the irrigation system if it's actually operating properly.
So that also, again, there's a time bound, right? I know that irrigation starts on alternate days, something he has a schedule. And again, nothing has changed from whatever the schedule was. That nobody has altered it in the last year or so. It's been like that for the last 6 to 7, 8 years. He's confirmed that. So that would, again, that wouldn't change, right?
I understand all that, but I guess I don't know what other direction we could possibly go in, because we have to test the meter anyway.
Please.
And we're not going to conclude that we would give an abatement until we have that information. So it seems like for right now, that's the course of action that I would recommend, is that we test the meter and give you some more frequent updates on how your usage is looking right now, so that we have an idea once we get the information back.
Sure. And meanwhile, the dispute that I have for the bill just remains in dispute, where I do not pay at this point in time until I hear back about the meter.
And is that how it's usually done when there's a dispute?
Technically, the bill's supposed to be paid, and then abatement is given on top of that.
And I'll talk to you again. I'm trying to make sure, let's work it out this week, if somebody's going to go sooner, and then we can talk about it.
Absolutely.
So at least the next course of action, as you said, is for somebody from the town to check the meter itself and then come back with what they find, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Chris, should we take a vote?
Yeah.
So I'd like to make a motion that we test the meter for 331 Albion Street to determine if it's working properly, and also that the administration provide a monthly update on water use from that address for as many months as is required to determine the trend and the issue.
Second on that. All in favor?
Aye.
I
Motion carries 3-0. Okay, so we'll reach back out to you. The town will reach back out to you and set something up to come take a look at that meter, okay?
Thank you so much. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Bye-bye.
Ann, who do we have next?
Next is 44 Oak Street, Dave McCall, and he is on the line. There. Hey, Dave.
How you doing?
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
So my name is Dave McCall. This is my mom, Ida.
Hi.
How you
Hi
doing?
there.
And so I had a similar problem. I want to thank Ann because she's been working with me on this. So I'm at 44 Oak Street. So I'm in the in-law apartment and my parents live in the attached next door here. So it's a you know, just an in-law apartment and they live next door. But so the bill that we got in for June to September was, the usage was 12,200. So right off the bat, so like just to say that we don't have a sprinkler system and we don't have a pool. So nothing like that would seem to use a lot of water. So I talked with Ann and she said the first thing to do is to check for leaks. So we did that and the toilets weren't running or anything. And she gave me a really good idea. I went down in the basement, myself and my brother, a couple of times. So what we did is I took a reading on the meter. Now this meter was from, I believe, we've been here since 1973, and we think that the meter was the original. So anyways, we looked at I looked at the reading, my brother looked at the reading for 2 or 3 nights in a row, and I took Ann's advice. So the meter was not moving and there was no sound of water or clicking or anything. So I said, oh, good, there's no leaks, because I sat there for a few minutes and watched it. I didn't hear anything, and my brother went down and he didn't hear anything. So the next step was to replace the meter. So with Ann's help, so I called and then they scheduled that. And the meter, so they took the meter out. It was really old. Unfortunately, I was told that it was not tested. So the old meter was taken out and it was not tested. I was told that the meters are pretty reliable, but I don't know, I just wanted to mention that. So they put the new meter in, Hector put the new meter in, I think it was on the 5th of November. And I started to monitor that meter, and I wrote down a bunch of numbers, and I was looking at it, and the new meter is different, and the numbers, it's not the same, I don't think, as the old one, so it kind of confused me. But to get back to the usage though, so the usage was 12,200. So normally we do like in the 2,000 usage range, and so this was like 6 times that almost. And so that's a good 15, 16 months of water. So we were perplexed. So the only thing that I told Ann that we did do was we had a 12 by 12 patch of grass, not grass, it was basically, yeah, seeded. And we watered that, but we only watered it for a short period of time. I think it was, how long was it? Was it to water it? Yeah.
10 minutes.
10 minutes, 10 minutes a day.
5-10 minutes.
Yeah, we just sprayed it. And it wasn't with the hose, it was with the nozzle, so it sprayed it. It wasn't like water coming out continuously, like out of it. So then we watered it, and then my landscaper, he's not really a landscaper, he is, but we don't water the lawn. So it was over the summer, we just wanted that because it was dirt, so we wanted some grass to grow there. So we did water that. But we didn't water it that often, and we didn't go crazy with it. We don't water the lawn on a normal, we never water the lawn. And everybody's lawn was bad this year, I'm sure, but anyways, it was just that 12 by 12 area. So the only other thing was, what was I gonna say? Oh, yeah, so the latest bill, so I talked with Ann again, and the latest bill for September to December was 1,600 usage, 1,600, and the bill came to about 307. So that was that was pretty low. That was good for us. That's even a little lower than normal because my father was in the hospital and rehab. But normally it's right around that 2,000 area. And I think, yeah, the 22, the 2,000 range is what we were expecting. So when they called and we got the bill was 2,600, but I think it was 2,300 if you paid on time. So we were like not understanding what was going on. So we checked a lot of things. We checked the toilets. Like I say, we don't water the lawn except for that one pass that we did. And we didn't even do it over the whole summer. I think it was only, yeah.
I don't
It was a short period of time, maybe a month that it was even, well, I don't want to get into too much detail here, but he planted it and the seeds didn't take, so we stopped watering it. And then he came back like 3 weeks later and did it again. And then we stopped watering that because it looked like it was coming up with crabgrass and everything. But anyways, having said that, I went back and I looked, because Ann gave me the usage over the years, and I went back and I looked at the usage, and like, you know, we never had anything like this. And I know I had back in 2017, my sister and brother-in-law lived here. So we had 5 people here, you know, showers, my sister and brother-in-law taking showers, using the laundry. You know, having 2 extra people, a lot more water. And even having said that, our highest usage with them here was 3,400. So that was a lot, but we understood why we had it because of the people that we had here. And even this was going way back, but when I first bought the house, and even like in the early 2000s, myself, my mom, my dad, my brother, and my sister were here. And even back then, I never got a bill that was like crazy. Like this was like 15 to 16 months worth of water in a short period of time, and you know, in 1 quarter. So I'm not sure. I mean, we did check the hose. So every time we would shut it off, and my mom, remember a couple times we made sure that it was turned and shut off, and plus it was on a hose. It wasn't on like an open. It had the nozzle on the end. It wasn't like it was an open hose, but so I guess that's most of the points that I wanted to make. And I'm at a loss because we don't know where all this water, the 12,200, which is an incredible amount of water. We don't know like how, but my only thought was, and sorry I'm taking so long, but my only thought was, is it possible that old meter, if the number on the old meter, it went from 625, the first 3 numbers, to 635. And I was thinking if it didn't go to the 3 and just stayed on the 2, it would have been, the usage would have been 2,200 and not 12,200. But I guess that's neither here nor there because the old one's gone. So I don't know. We're at a loss. We just don't know why it would be so high and the usage be so much. But I guess that's about it.
So, Anne, I just have a question about the meter that was removed. It was a meter from the 70s?
Correct.
And was there a reason why it wasn't tested, or was it just so old that it was?
I think there was a miscommunication, so it didn't get tested.
Oh, okay.
And just for clarification, so are we saying that the uncharacteristically large water bill arrived, and shortly after that, like a month or 2 after that, the old meter was replaced with the new meter?
We replaced it because of Dave had called me and was concerned. So, and then when we saw it was an old meter, we said, okay, it's a good time to get in there, change the meter, and see if the new meter, it needed a new meter anyway.
Okay, but this 12,200 usage occurred on the old meter's watch, correct?
Yes.
Okay, And Mr. McCall, just to go back to your hose just for a moment, am I understanding you correctly that your hose is pressure triggered? So you need to physically hold it for the water to come out? Am I understanding that as opposed
Yeah.
to just
Sorry.
having it turn on and perhaps someone might have forgot to turn it off? And
Right, it has a lever that you turn. So when you turn the lever towards the hose, it turns on, and then when you turn it the other way, it shuts off. So I personally, my mom would do, sometimes she'd water it, and I'd go out and I would look, and I even physically would go out there and turn with my hand, and just to make sure, because I'm kind of a OCD person, so I would go out there and she would tighten it, and then I would go back out there and I would check it again. But it did have the little lever there, yeah,
Sure.
it
Okay.
controls the water flow. It's not just like an open hose.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
I would say in terms of, the ability to have used that much water watering with a hose, I think is extremely unlikely. I actually have my own anecdotal information that this summer, or the tail end of last fall, actually, we put in a new lawn and it didn't take, so they came and reseeded it this spring. And we watered with a hose every day, morning and evening, for months. And our water bill only went up by about $100, which was amazing to me. I expected it to be much worse than that. So, so I don't think a 12 by 12 area being watered with a hose, I can't fathom that this kind of usage came from the actual watering. It would have to be either from, to me, it seems like one of three things. Either something was wrong with the old meter, or something was running, like the hose was running, but it doesn't sound like that would have been the case. Or something interior was running, like a toilet or something that was constantly running, that just went unnoticed for a period of time, but that wouldn't typically just resolve on its own. And it looks like the usage went back down. So I don't know, it's so out of whack. To me, it seems plausible that it would have had to do with the meter. I am curious though, on the meter, didn't the town replace all meters a couple of years ago?
Oh, I'm sorry, you asking me? I'm sorry.
No, I'm asking Ann or Joe.
No, the overwhelming majority of them, yes. There are probably a few outliers. We just can't physically get into the dwelling to do it. But that number is less than 100.
And is that, have there been multiple attempts to contact people to get their meter replaced, and the people who are left with the old meters are the ones who haven't responded, or what's the process?
Every single time that they read per quarter, we try to get in contact with whoever is there, whether it's leaving, cards in the mail, a door hanger. If we have information to contact them via telephone, we try to. Sometimes you're a little bit more successful with that than not.
And so on the old billing, then I see a code of an A, which I assume is actual for the most recent bill with the new meter. And then I see a bunch of M's, which I assume is manual. And then there are the E's estimated.
Yep.
Yes, correct.
Okay. And so do you know, is there a reason why you haven't had the water meter replaced?
Not really. I think, I know we got the card a few times, more than a few times, and I just never, I have a reason. I don't want to get into it crazy, but like the smart meter stuff I have a sensitivity to smart meters. So I think that played into it, because I knew it was going to be a smart meter. So that was part of it, why I didn't get one for all.
Because of the signal, the Wi-Fi signal, or
Yeah, if I'm around that too much, it bothers me. So I knew the smart meter it was gonna be a smart meter, so we already have a gas smart meter, so I didn't want to add to it. But now that it's in there and and everything, it's fine, but to be honest, that's really the reason why my sensitivity was the reason why I didn't really feel like having it replaced.
Ann or Joe, do you have a sense on when you've seen these old meters that old, whether they are prone to inaccuracy?
So I usually find they slow down in the past. That's what I've noticed. They get clogged or slow down. I haven't had one that has sped up.
Elena, this was a Rockwell impeller that was removed. So more than likely with those ones, wear and tear of physical parts, you're more than likely to see that benefit the customer than you are the utility.
Yeah, that's the strange thing, because when Ann told me that, I was like, it's odd that it's the other way, that I would have thought the bill would have been lower instead of higher too. I know that's the strange thing.
And where this was a manual read, there's no chance that it was just error, human error?
We could go back and verify that though. We would have all the paper record of that. Or
I
data
believe
entry.
we did that, but we can check again tomorrow.
Okay. Well, do you want to, trying to think the best course of action for this? You're gonna look into the meter tomorrow. Is that what you were saying, Joe?
Manual read.
Manual read.
Yeah, I'll pull the paperwork and check the manual read.
Okay.
I believe we had done that, but I'll just double check.
Maria, Elena, do you guys have anything else?
I think pulling the paperwork one more time would be a good step. Other than that, anecdotally, I've not seen anything quite this high that I can recall. That where there wouldn't have been an obvious leak or. So I don't know, Elena, I would defer to you if you have any other ideas.
I mean, I do agree that a meter would be more likely to slow down than to speed up if it's just an age issue. I would say this looks like I said, either like something that was left on inadvertently and was running, or like some sort of problem that relates in some way to the meter because everything went right back down when the new meter was put in. So, I mean, I think it could be plausible that it certainly was some sort of, if it wasn't the meter, it was certainly some sort of leak. It's not, it doesn't appear that it would be usage. I think it would be hard to,
Yeah.
you really have to try to use 12,000 cubic feet when your normal usage is 3,000, 2,000. And the problem appears to be gone. I mean, we could potentially wait one more quarter, get the information from the meter, and then decide if we want to abate some portion. We could potentially abate it how we would for an outdoor leak. In terms of abating the sewer portion or something of that nature.
That's a good idea. So I think maybe we go down the route of get a manual read and then let's see what the next quarter looks like and evaluate it then.
I just wanted to add real quick. I did I wrote down a bunch of dates that I went down in the basement around 6:30 at night. And each time with the new meter and the old meter, it, nothing, it was just dead still and not moving. I know the two meters are different, but, I didn't hear any sounds of water. I didn't hear any ticking. I didn't, I watched the meter for several minutes on both the old one and the new one. And all those times, there's probably half a dozen times that I went down there when this all started happening. I would go down there at night and I would sit and I'd watch it. And the old meter and the new meter, and it just was not moving. And there was like no sound of water, no clicking, numbers weren't moving, like nothing like that. So
So it would be possible to have a leak though, or something that was left running, obviously could be just an isolated incident. Something ran overnight and then was corrected the next day, but ran enough to use, a whole lot of water. So the fact that the meters weren't running at night is good. It means you don't have some ongoing chronic leak. But it wouldn't necessarily mean that this wasn't something leaking or left running that was a temporary issue.
yeah, it's like 15 months worth of water so like in this short period of time that it happened, like I thought we would have seen some sign of something that would, do you know what I mean? Like there would have been a sign that there's water somewhere or.
Well, and that's why I was saying a toilet leak. A lot of people don't realize you can have a completely silent toilet leak and it's just the water is continuously running. And that just runs 24/7. But again, you would think that you would have fixed something to cause that to get better.
Yeah.
And you tested the toilets, Dave, right?
I
Yeah.
checked mine.
Yeah, we did. We checked them to make sure they weren't running. I put
Always.
I took Ann's advice.
Tablets.
I put the whatever the color.
tab.
Eye tabs.
And I just did that and plus to audio, you can't hear the toilet running, but I also did the thing in the toilet with the water. But we just don't know. When the bill came in, we did all that checking and everything, and just we were thinking, but it's such a large amount of water. Like I can't fathom like how much water that is, like to go from 2,000 to 12,000. But
There any chance at any point would there have been a child or anyone that was in a bathroom that could have left it on that, I mean, that's the only other thing I could think of where you might not have noticed it. It could have run overnight and.
no, it's just myself and my parents. And especially with the virus and everything, it's pretty locked down.
Yeah.
But I would even say, even if that were the case, like, would a faucet running? I mean, like people fill their pools up, and I was thinking, people fill their pools up. How many gallons is that? You know what I mean? Even if someone filled their pool up, I don't know this for sure, but like even like what the woman said before, I forget her name, Elena, about she watered and watered and watered and watered, and the bill was $100 higher. So when the person from the Public Works called, when they said the bill was higher, I didn't know she meant 6 times higher. I thought she just meant like maybe it was a couple $100 higher or something. But so like when she said about watering the lawn, so she watered the lawn all that time and it was only $100. So like, I'm wondering, is it, I'm struggling to find out the reason why. I don't know if that's thousands of gallons, thousands and thousands, because I know it breaks down into 100 cubic feet. But like, where did these thousands and thousands of gallons go? It's just perplexing because we don't have anything that could explain it, like a pool or a sprinkler system or something like that. And even with a pool or a sprinkler system, we don't have one, but I'm curious, like if people fill their pool up, do they get, when people fill their pool up, do they, what do they see in a jump in the water bill? You know what I mean? But But anyways, that, I just, I'm at a loss because we checked everything and the bill was lower this month and this quarter and the quarter before it. And we just literally just cannot come up with an idea as to what could have happened.
Well, it looks like you're trending back in the right direction, so that's encouraging. So if we can, with Anne's help, look back at the last manual read, perhaps, Anne, how would you like to leave it so that we can get back in touch with these folks and
Yeah, so I'll pull that paperwork tomorrow and I'll get back to you and let you know what it was. And then I'll get back to Dave.
Thanks, Ann.
Okay, and then are we gonna just wait for the next quarter to look at the information? Is that what we want to do? We want to take a vote on that?
Yeah, yeah, I'll make a motion that we that Ann take another look at that last manual read, and then that we wait till the next quarter's bill comes, and then we'll take a vote on whether to
Give abatements.
give an abatement.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Okay, Dave, what we're gonna do is Ann will reach out to you with that manual reading,
Okay,
and then we'll take a look at the next quarter, what it looks like, and
okay,
we'll go from there, okay?
okay. And the next bill, so I'm okay with not paying. I paid the 307 that was due for this past quarter, so just wait until the next quarter bill. Right? Like I shouldn't pay anything until the next quarterly bill comes out.
That's fine.
Okay. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry it took so long.
Sorry.
Have a good night.
you two
Thanks.
take care.
Thank you.
Okay. Ann, do we have any other hearings?
We do not.
Okay, so I see a lot of people on here. I see Sophia has been on waiting for a while. Let's see. Sophia, are you there? Whoever, do you want to speak? Maybe not. Anyone else that's watching the meeting looking to speak? I see Tim, Brendan, Mary Ann. Anyone want to speak? Okay. Right, so next on the agenda. Any updates, Joe? We need to know about?
Sorry, I'm on mute. Really quickly, it's just begun to be budget season, so we're starting to put that together. We were involved pretty heavily in the COVID-19 vaccination clinic that took place yesterday. Thank goodness the snow held out till later on in the afternoon, and they got all the vaccines that they had into people's arms, which is fantastic because the weather report didn't exactly look like that was going to make things easy. Outside of that, we're looking forward to just moving on into spring and getting back to building things.
Great.
Super.
Chris, you're muted.
And any other updates or anything that you needed to add? No?
No.
No? Okay.
I did want to say, Joe, on the community page, I saw so much positive chatter about the vaccination clinic.
Yeah, it was really a sight to see. I feel like, you know, the state's shortfall, or I shouldn't say that, but lack of intended supply that they think they have, you know, makes things kind of last minute, and it doesn't really give you an awesome way to kind of plan this out, especially with the, you know, cryogenics involved and storing it and making sure it's not wasted. But I'm going to say that I don't think that it could have went off any better. I'm looking forward to hopefully continuing that on and getting as many people the shot that want it. So.
Yeah, and you have a fantastic resource there in the Converse building.
It is.
Yeah, that was really nice of them. It was nice. It was nice to be able to be a part of something like that too.
Yeah.
My neighbors went, Joe, and they were very impressed.
Yeah, it was it was a well-oiled machine. There were a lot of volunteers, and
Mhm.
the answer to anybody's questions was never no, right? It was yes, and you figure out however we need to make it happen, we're going to make it happen. So I can only take credit for the limited part that my staff had involved in it, but Board of Health, all the other public safety agencies, emergency management, all the parts needed to move the vehicle forward. So it was a really cool thing to see.
That's great.
Okay. Were we still breaking out into executive session?
So I do have something to review with you guys. Obviously, that you're the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, and want to fill you in on a contract that has not been settled yet. We're in the middle of negotiating it. So for that reason, we have to go into executive session so it does not impact the town's ability to work with the proposed vendors. But if you want to, pick another meeting and wrap up, all the other odds and ends first, that's fine too. If not, you need a motion to go into executive session to discuss.
Elena, Maria, do you have anything to add or?
No, I'm happy to make a motion if you'd like.
Yeah, we'll entertain a motion.
So I'd like to make a motion to move our meeting into executive session.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries 3-0. All right, so. Do we have to go into a special screen for this?
I think Ann is at the wheel of that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ann's got the key. Mute.
Sorry. It looks like 3 people are on, so I can, if they want to email me their phone numbers, they can come back on. Or I'm not sure if we have any other business besides when the next meeting is. So we may want to do that. Then they'll get off and then we can go in executive session.
Okay.
I don't think we voted the minutes, did we? From
No,
the
correct.
minutes.
No. All right, so let's start with the minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting, unless there's any discussion.
So moved.
So moved. Mhm.
All
Second.
in favor? Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Now, want to set our next meeting?
Sure.
Joe, what are you looking at for dates? How you looking?
give me 1 second. Is it at all possible to go the first week of March? That way, you guys can see the budget and review the budget before we have to bring it to the finance committee and the council.
So what do you think, like March 1st or March 8th? Those are both Mondays.
Yeah, I'd probably lean more towards the first, only reason being I don't know when Public Works' time slot is with the council or the finance committee yet. I'm anticipating having to go the week after. So if the advisory board has any questions or things to address, I'd like just a little bit of wiggle room to be able to make whatever happen if need be.
Okay.
First is fine with me. Does it work for you, Chris and Elena?
Works for me. Elena, how are you?
Yep, works for me.
Great.
All right, so March 1st. Okay.
Are we sticking to 5:30 or?
Do you need extra time for that, Joe? Do we need extra time or you want to go back to a regular schedule?
Well, I think whatever, we'll accommodate whatever is easier for the board.
Want to just stick to 5:30? That way, and Elena, if you have another, do you have another meeting before? or anything?
I don't normally, I did today, but no, 5:30 gives me a chance usually to go home in between. I've been here since, pretty much since yesterday morning, as Joe, you probably have been.
Isn't it?
I'm good at 5:30.
Okay, so. Okay, and then I also will entertain a motion to move into executive session.
Okay.
So moved.
All in favor? All in favor? Aye. Let's see, do we have anyone left on here?